Mama Tara, you have a dog on the picture of your cover there. So uh, I want you guys to listen to this poem. It's one I've been reading to clients and just sort of reading to myself, and it's wickedly good. It starts out with a wicked first line, and it just sort of gets better. I don't know if anybody has ever watched or ever read the poet Mary Oliver, but she's really wonderful. And the poem is called Wild Geese. It doesn't really sound like much, does it? Hi, Betty. Welcome. Mama Tara says the dog is the great Stella Bella. The great Mr. Pauly is sitting right over there. Okay. All right. So wild geese. Check this out. I keep wanting to look at you, and then I keep wanting to look at the camera, and I always forget to look at the camera. So you do not have to be good. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about your despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Tell me about your despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese high in the clean blue air are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world is offering itself to your imaginations. Calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over announcing your place in the family of things. I won't talk much about the poem. You know what? I just realized, Debbie, I could plug in a microphone and they could hear you better since I'm using my phone. So why don't you talk and tell a little bit about yourself without revealing too much? Right over there is my microphone. So share a little bit with the people.
Okay, well, you said you were going to read what I sent you, and that's kind of what I look at as the negative stuff. Some of the positive stuff is that I was a teacher in convalescent hospitals for 30 some years. And that gave me, since it was a part-time job, very little money, but it gave me a whole lot of time to do some travel and Civic Light Opera. And I got to sing in Carnegie Hall 2 times.
You got to sing in Carnegie Hall 2 times?
Yes, yes.
I sing to myself on YouTube, pretty much.
Well, that was one of the highlights, and actually one of my bucket lists from when I was a kid. And standing on stage, because I'm 5'10", I was in the middle of the back of 5 steps of risers. And, you know, that's kind of a precarious place to be anyway. But to be on that wooden floor on the stage at Carnegie Hall when some of those pipes are 64 feet long and have that organ play full and have a full orchestra singing behind us, or playing behind us, was...
That sounds really cool, really awesome.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, I'm shook up just telling you about it.
Oh wow!
Yeah, that was one of the highlights of my life.
She's remembering singing at Carnegie Hall and she's weeping. Sometimes when I sing, people weep, but not for the same reason. People who are watching this later, I don't know if people are tuning in later because they want to not just be here for the gathering. Hey, Jeff D. of the information. The gathering of the information generally isn't super sexy or anything. It's tedious. It's just sort of work. But then we get to the feedback is when it rocks and roll. But it might take us an hour to gather all the information before we get to rock and roll. So welcome everybody. Sunny day ahead. It looks like sunny day Abid. Thank you. It was a good poem. I'm wearing the cowboy gear tonight because I'm pretty excited about Jill again. I'm pretty excited about the Cowboys actually winning a football game, being down by 20 points and getting an onside kick, the watermelon kick, onside kick. Debbie, let's do the disclaimer thing. Get that out of the way. So raise your right hand. How'd it go? I know this. What'd you say? Promise not to sue me. You got the general idea. So I, Debbie, using a fake name, know that this ain't therapy. That doesn't sound like very good legal language to use ain't, but I know that I shouldn't try this at home without the help of a professional.
I know I should not try this at home without the help of a professional.
And I won't even think about suing Mark Smith or Family Tree Life Coaching.
And I won't even think about suing Family Tree or Life Coaching.
Oh, you're in. Judy Garner says, go Cowboys. How about those Cowboys? You guys are going to get me all stirred up.
You got your Superman necklace on, too.
What?
You got your Superman necklace on, too.
I do. I like that. One last thing before I read Debbie's email. If you want to get on the list of Sharon Kelly's here, if you want to get on the list, you got to email me. You can't just sign up Fort Worth. Judy's from right around Dallas. We have a blind woman on the show tonight. Email me. Just email me at marksmith@familytreecounseling.com. marksmith@familytreecounseling.com. Say, I want on the list. I've got at least 3 people on the list. And I know, Annie, you wanted to be on the list. So I'm going to put Annie, I'm going to put you on the list. But I've got 3 other people ahead of you. But we can do this until 2025, somebody suggested last time. So that's all I had to say. We're going to read Debbie's email. She wrote, I resonated with Larry's enlightening and engaging session. She doesn't say that was interrupted 5 times while I was out on the balcony in Branson, Missouri, because we didn't have any internet. It was kind for you not to mention that part, but and you said, you are right, Larry is a sweetheart, and he really is. I have 3 requests. I like to use fake names because I don't want to be publicly on screen. My current mother issue is, now by mother issue, you mean big issue or issue with your mother?
Big issue with my mother.
Okay.
And it got huger in the last couple days because she's been without one of her medications, and she's been on my case like a salt on tail feathers of a bird.
Okay.
But I'd rather leave off that particular subject because I think the conservatorship is a more of a therapy thing.
Oh, I wasn't supposed to read that. Oops.
Not just that one sentence.
Okay. Okay. Role reversal issues and my reticence to stand up is fair game, but not on the financial side. I want to be transparent without the finances being mentioned on air, which I just mentioned. Listening and thinking of my family from this perspective more than before has been interesting already. I look forward to insights and revelations from you. Thank you. I need to know how and when to connect using the computer. Well, you did better than me. You've got your computer to work, and my laptop didn't quite work. So, people out there on YouTube, what I want you to do is feel free to jump in with questions about the genogram, and if you go, oh, I wonder about this or I wonder about that, then just text that in. Annie, yes, do email me, please, because I'll need to email you a link to be on the show. So please do email me, marksmith@familytreecounseling.com. Okay, let me get my colored pens out over here. Let me get my genogram out over here. And
that's not the email I thought you were going to read.
Is there a longer one?
Oh, there's a lot longer one.
Oh, well.
You want me to read it?
No, I just want to.
Okay.
I just want to go through and usually long emails. I'm going to ask the questions that I want to ask. Okay. So, Debbie, how old are you?
73.
73. Can I share with the people what your career has been?
Sure.
Once you told what you did, but she's Debbie's a fellow social worker
Yes.
with myself in MSW. Can you guys hear okay? Can you hear Debbie? Can you hear me? Okay. I got my phone hooked up to a mic. I'm hoping my phone doesn't run out of juice. Yes. Yes, they can hear. Okay. So I do need to make up a place that you're from. The lady that was on 2 sessions ago, she said she was from Fort Cucamonga, California. Are you from Fort Cucamonga? Where?
I'm from Orange County.
Orange County. Okay.
About 10 miles from Disneyland.
Okay. You get to go to Disneyland a lot?
I don't do that.
Okay, like I said, jump in with questions if you have any questions. Sunny day ahead says, can hear great. Okay. So, Debbie, are you married? Are you divorced? What's your deal?
I'm a widow and divorced, and I had a fiance who was murdered in the parking lot across the fence from my house.
What?
Yeah. I didn't tell you that part.
Okay, I didn't know that. That's wow. Okay. So
So I was wedded twice. I consider myself having not been married since neither one of them was a marriage. We had a wedding, but I was the only one that was married in the couple.
I think those still count.
Okay.
Yeah, I think those still count. So, which one of the relationships would you consider to be the most significant in your history?
The first one.
Okay. Give me a fake name for that guy.
Marvin.
Marvin. Debbie was married to Marvin Gaye, the singer, as it turns out. But Marvin passed away. Marvin's not the guy who got killed, was he?
No, Marvin died of congestive heart failure. He was 28 years my senior.
When did he die? What year?
Oh my goodness.
Roughly.
79.
He died all the way back in 79. Did you have children with Marvin?
No. That was one of my life objectives, no children.
How do you feel about that?
I have never regretted it. I don't think I ever will. That was my plan, and I considered it a well thought out plan.
So you never really wanted kids?
I wanted to not have kids.
Wanted to have not kids, and you were successful in
Yes.
not having kids.
Yes.
Okay. So how old was Marv when he died?
I didn't do the math recently. I think he was like 63 or something, and I was 20. I was 30. I was 30 something, early 30s.
He was 63, and you were in your early 30s.
Yeah, there was 28 years between us.
Was he particularly handsome, or what was the dealio there?
No, actually, he was very sickly, and I was. Oh my goodness, I'm going to look really lame now. I was enamored with how well he thought he knew me. It's like he read my mind, and I didn't consider.
That's
normal.
Sort of a good quality in a potential partner. If they can sort of read your mind, it's sort of a little bit sexy. So
he said I would love him in the end. He was going to promote my music career, and that I would grow to love him, and everything would be wonderful. And we were supposed to be buying casinos, and we had bodyguards, and there was all kinds of crap.
Everybody has a little crap, Debbie. But the whole "you'll grow to love me" thing generally doesn't work out. We have a question from Annie, and she asked, I think, be a question I would ask. Were you sort of looking for a father figure?
No. In fact, when I was younger, my parents asked me if I was in high school. They asked me if I was thinking about leaving. I never even had a boyfriend. And if I was going to run away and get married. Didn't even have a boyfriend. Where that question came up, I don't know. But I told them no, I considered that to be jumping from the skillet into the fire.
Okay.
Yeah, I was not looking for a replica of my dad at all.
I'll determine that in a little bit. Sunny Day Ahead says, how old is your mother now?
96.
96?
Yeah.
What's her fake name?
Mary.
Mary, quite contrary.
Ooh,
how does your garden grow? She is contrary, you said.
Yes, and she is a gardener.
Oh, how did I know that? That was sort of spooky. Siblings, do you have siblings?
I have two brothers. I'm the elder of three. One's 2 years younger, one's 5 years younger. The one that's 5 years younger is deceased for 2 years.
Okay, I got it. So with our rhythm here, Debbie, you're getting a little bit ahead of me. My brain is seeing like 12 hours of clients today. It's moving a mite slow. So the second brother is how much younger than you?
5 years.
5 years. He is 68. What's his first name? He's not the one who died.
No, I gave you the wrong number. The one just younger than me is 2 years younger than me, and his name is Peter.
Oh, and he passed away.
No, he's the one that didn't pass away. The younger one passed away.
Who's on first?
The youngest one died.
What was the youngest one's name? First name?
The youngest one?
Yes.
Paul.
And the 70, did he die when he was 71? The second one? No, the youngest one died. He died when he was 68.
He died when he was 65. He died 2 years ago.
65. What did Paul die from?
metastasized uh, pancreatic cancer.
Okay, so your other brother, what's his first name?
Peter.
Peter Paul?
Yeah.
Peter, Paul, and Mary. Oh, that's clever.
Yeah.
She went Peter, Paul, and Mary on us. What was some of their songs?
I don't know. They were all good.
Peter, Paul, and Mary. That was a good. Your father has passed, I take it?
Yes.
What was
He
his?
died at age 72.
He died at age 72. What was his first name? Puff the magic dragon, live by the sea. I don't know the rest of the words from the land of Galilee. Go ahead. Isn't that a good song?
Yeah, that was a good song. We'll call him Paul too.
He's Paul 1.
Yeah. Paul. Oh, yeah, he's Paul 1. The brother's Paul 2 then. Yeah.
Sonny says, did you grow up going to church?
Yes.
What church did you go to?
I attended a local small Baptist church.
Baptist church. Did they preach real loud there?
No, it was rather conversational. The messages were intense, but it wasn't yelling, screaming, jumping up and down kind of stuff.
Puff the magic dragon. Give us some words, Debbie, to describe yourself.
Well, I would say intelligent or intellectual, one or the other.
Which one are you going with, intelligent or intellectual?
I'll say intelligent.
You seem intelligent to me.
Thank you.
What else?
I have a warped sense of humor.
In which way is your humor warped?
Well, having worked in convalescent hospitals for years, I have a different view of death and dying and sickness and all that than most people do.
You tell death jokes to people who are dying, is what you're saying.
Yeah. No, actually, I got to tell you, since you brought that up, while I'm in the convalescent hospital, I will talk about how silly we are with our death and burial ceremonies. When was the last time Grandma had her hair done, her nails done, a brand new dress, sleeping on a satin pillow in a brand new bed, and everybody came and said how great she looked?
Wow.
That only happens at the funeral.
That's cool. I've been to funerals, but I haven't had a lot of fun at them, generally.
No. But I facilitated a lot of memorial services at the convalescent hospitals. You know, like for each other. And everybody got to share their stories about what impressed them or depressed them about a particular patient. And, and we'd sing a lot. And, you know, it's a celebration of life kind of thing among their housemates.
Yeah. Sonny, I meant to get you your wrench. Sonny's the new moderator, and she's been really excited about getting her hands on a wrench today. But just keep looking for your wrench. I think I arranged it. Let me look. I can do one thing. I could look at the live chat and see if I can somehow magically arrange. I don't think I can. Nope. Okay. I'm a little spacey tonight. Debbie, did I mention that?
Yes.
Your humor is about funerals and stuff. I guess how many years did you do that work?
34 years.
You got to laugh about something after 34 years, I imagine. Go crazy if you didn't.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, we shared a lot of history and trivia, and, you know, a lot of those old people lived through whatever we were talking about as history.
Yeah, yeah.
And so they got to share some of their biographies, and some families brought me family trivia, like letters that were written to Europe to entice other relatives to come over here, like in the 18 and 1900s.
That's cool.
You know, it was rich life sharing.
Cool, cool. Betty points out that Puff the Magic Dragon was about smoking marijuana. I think that's where you're going with that. I just like the song. I remember when I was a little kid, just there's something really beautiful about that song. Okay.
It was fun.
Puff Magic Dragon.
It was a fun song.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's start with your dad. He died when he was 72. In what year, roughly?
The 99.
I like how you just boldly just guessed. Okay, so tell me about your dad as you were growing up.
He was a bodybuilder, so that meant that he was away from home a lot, supposedly at the gyms, and he may or may not have been there.
Was he like all muscly?
Yeah.
So
he'd been in competition until he was 65. He won a trophy almost as tall as he was when he was 65.
No, he did not.
Yeah.
For bodybuilding.
Yeah. He was a captain of the fire department.
Okay.
So he was responsible. He became a teacher of firemen at the junior college and a caregiver for people like, can I say the word fat?
No, you can't say it. I'll be offended if you say that.
Well, when you're 400 pounds or something, I don't know what else you can call it. But he would go to some of the convalescent hospitals and give those people baths.
Okay.
So he had a philanthropic side.
Debbie, just answer the questions I asked. Just answer. I'll ask you answer. Boom, 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 boom. Okay? I know you have lots of really interesting stories. What kind of work did your dad do? That was the captain of the fire department?
That's what he retired in. Yeah.
That's what he retired in.
Yeah. He worked in the oil fields before that.
Oil fields first. So this is a man's man. Sounds like to me. Captain of the fire department, worked in the oil fields, won bodybuilding trophies when he was 65. That's pretty impressive stuff. Well, give me some words that describe your dad.
A Marine to the bone.
He was a Marine?
Yeah.
This guy was a badass. There's 4 reasons why he was a badass. I don't even got one reason why I'm a badass. Go ahead. More words. Marine.
He was poetic, and he liked to sing.
Well, I'm liking this guy.
Soft side.
He had a what?
He had a very soft side, a feminine side.
Oh man.
With the poetry and the he liked Mario Lanza, and he'd sing Mario Lanza stuff with the records and in the shower.
Laurie. Is that one of his?
Yeah.
I don't know if it was or not. What was your relationship like with your father as you're growing up?
As I was growing up, he was mostly gone. Firemen, work 24 on and 24 off, and then every 6 days they're off for 3 days. And
where the heck was he?
Well, he spent a lot of time at the gym. He spent a lot of time studying. He progressed through the fire department faster than anybody to that point.
Wow.
So he studied a lot.
Okay.
And our Sunday afternoon drives, us 3 kids would be in the back seat having to keep quiet while he went around, driving around, memorizing where fire hydrants were in town. Hold
it. So there really is a thing called Sunday afternoon drives. That's really a thing.
Yeah, looking for fire hydrants.
Looking for fire. We never did that when I was growing up. So Annie asked, you said he may or may not have been working out. Was he an untrustworthy fellow?
My mother said there were only, okay, to answer your question, yes. She didn't think so, but yes. He confessed to 11 affairs through the marriage before it was over.
Well, I'd call that pretty damn untrustworthy. Yeah.
Well, he was thought to be trustworthy, but he wasn't.
There's a lot of that going around.
Yeah.
Sunny's day ahead says, turn this down. Did your dad go to college?
He got an AA at the local junior college.
Okay. Jeff asked, was your dad ever deployed?
Yes. He was in Okinawa for the mop-up.
Okinawa. How do you spell Okinawa? Do you know how to spell Okinawa? I can't spell
No.
it. Does anybody know how to spell Okinawa? I don't have any freaking idea how to spell Okinawa. I think there's an O and a K in it. But somebody tell me. Thank you, Annie. Annie, did you look that up on Google or did you already know? That's what I want to know. If you already knew, you win the spelling bee.
Really?
Annie says it was just phonetic. Yeah.
Phonetic.
She's just a good speller. Thank you. I'll consult you later. Debbie, Sunny asked, did you make a decision to not have children because your dad was an absent father? I should have asked, why didn't you want to have children? So I goofed up there.
Okay. It'll be hard to keep this short. Probably the main reason was I babysat a lot when I was a kid. And I observed, I'll say all the way until my 30s, that in fact, I only found one mother who liked their kid at the age they were when they were there.
Seriously?
Seriously.
I thought moms liked their kids.
Well, they like their kids, but they always say, I wish they were older. I wish they were younger. I can hardly wait for school to start. I can hardly wait for school to get out. I can hardly wait till they're playing baseball. I wish they were this. I wish they were never happy with the kid.
They were not like, oh, it's so wonderful to be the mother of this 3-year-old.
Yeah,
it seemed like a bad thing you didn't want to get yourself in, stuck with.
Juvenile delinquents when I was in high school and after.
You worked with juvenile delinquents?
Yes. And I observed both at church and with that experience with the juvenile delinquents that the parents that I liked the best had the kids that I liked the least.
The parents you liked the best had the kids you liked the least. Yeah. So it wasn't about your father.
I don't think so.
Okay. Gilligan says me no spell good, except she spelled it wrong. Okay. Did you suspect that your dad was sort of running around town with women, or?
Yes, I did.
What made you think that?
He always had brand new everything. Handkerchiefs, underwear, socks, everything stockpiled in his cupboard. And we were, he lived a different lifestyle in the same house as we did.
The money went to his new underdraws, huh?
Yeah. And he always wore cologne. Well, no, he always wore cologne when I thought he was out. And I had warned my mom probably before the 5th grade.
You warned your mother?
Yes.
I know how to spell cologne. It's Cologne.
Yes.
I did that phonically. Okay.
Also, I was the mediator between them.
Between your parents?
Yes.
Were they fussy? Would they fuss at each other?
Yeah. I was parentified.
I had a nice red pen and I've lost it. Let me see if this will work. This is my fussy parent pen. Yeah, it works good.
My mother would complain about my dad. My dad would complain about my mother, and I'd carry the tales between them and tell them what the solution was. And it started when I was 8.
You became a social worker by the time you were 8.
Yes.
Nice. Okay. So they would listen to you, give feedback to them about their issues.
It was almost like magic, yeah.
You were naturally talented in caretaking.
And well, I couched it in different words when I related it to the other one. But yeah, I was communicating. I was the interpreter between the two of them.
Yeah, yeah. Sharon wants to know if your dad had any other children with these 11 affairs.
There's no indication.
No indication that that was the case. Tell a quick story here about kids naturally wanting. Hi, Diane. She also played referee with her parents. Betty was also a mediator. When I was married to in my first marriage, and I had little children. Actually, I think we just had one, my son and one daughter, but it was Thanksgiving, and in my family, you take, that little weird package inside the turkey has livers and gizzards and the neck. Well, everybody knows that you're supposed to take that out and put it in with the turkey and cook it. And then you chop up the livers and the gizzards, you put it in the gravy. The giblets, that's what it is. Giblets, Annie says. And so, but every year my wife would take that stuff. She thought it was gross, that was like nasty, gross stuff. And she said, well, we'll cook it later. And so we were having it was more of a fight than a discussion. And my little boy, I don't know how, he's at that whatever age where they just start talking. He hadn't said 10 words in his life. And we were going back and forth. And I'm like, why don't you cook it? And she goes, that stuff's gross, but I wanted you to cook it. And he yells out, just cook it. Little bitty guy. We both just about fell on the floor. It was just so funny. Just cook. He wanted to mediate.
Yeah, get it over
with his parents and make it better. Gilligan says, kids should never be dragged into adult issues. And I often say that if you become a therapist or a social worker, many times it's because you were thrust into that parental role and into, the mediation role as a young kid. Let's talk about your mom. Tell me, what was your mom like as you were growing up?
Having read about what you write about, I hesitate to use the word victim.
Yeah, you don't want to use that one. You'll get a stern talking to if you say that here. You don't want stern talking.
As a kid, she was very overworked, and she was worked like a man, and she was the second oldest of kids when she was being raised. There were 5 kids in her
second
family.
Of 5.
Yeah.
And she had to do lots of chores.
Yeah, when she was 16, she was driving truck over to Chino to get fruits and vegetables to sell at the fruit stand. Then they'd have to clean the fruits and stand there.
So they had a fruit stand.
Yeah.
Welcome, Kimberly. So she was worked really hard as she was growing up.
Physically, she was worked very hard, and they had to water avocado trees where they had to carry buckets of water for each of the 30 avocado trees. And yeah, they work like dogs.
Avocados grow on trees?
Yeah.
I did not know that. Yep, Kimberly, we'll pretty much have a show every other week. Just sometimes Polly has to poop and we start a little later. I'm going to put water avocado trees. That's a cool.
Okay, well, Mom did a lot of sewing so that I had clothes to wear, because I don't know what I would have worn had she not made stuff.
Your dad was getting all this new underwear and socks and cologne, and you wouldn't have anything to wear if your mom didn't sew for you.
Yeah.
How do you feel about your dad?
I considered that he was damaged goods from real early on, and he just didn't know how to be what he needed to be.
Okay, I've got my separate paper here for feedback. That's the first comment I'm going to make. So you're not as mad at him because he was damaged goods.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Betty says this genealogy is so interesting. I'm learning so much. More about your mother.
Okay, more about my mother. She compensated for my dad. She did a lot of things to support my dad. Like he was supposed to write newsletters for the fire department, and she's the one that would do it. And she was a good supporter for him, even though they didn't really. I looked at it as a marriage of convenience. It was, sort of like cheaper to keep her kind of thing.
Hey, somebody said that the other day on the show. I think it was Sunny Days Ahead. Cheaper to keep her. Jamie, welcome to the house.
I don't know that Dad ever thought about one way or the other. But when he got found out, they went back and forth together and apart. And then he decided he couldn't trust her. And that
what?
That blew me away.
Your mother was involved in hanky-panky?
No, she broke a family heirloom with a sledgehammer.
Oh, I like her. What was the family heirloom?
My dad had been a wrestler while he was in the Marine Corps, and we had an 1800s marble statue, probably 24 inches across, of a famous statue of the wrestlers. And it was supposed to go to my elder brother, and he didn't get it because Mom smashed it up with a sledgehammer.
That's a really good story.
Yeah, she thought about it. She deliberated. Should she mash up the car with a ball-peen hammer? I have this in her own handwriting, and I've heard her tell me time and again. She thought for weeks. She thought
for weeks? Ball-peen, hammer, car, family heirloom with a sledgehammer.
Yep.
Your mother was a little bit badass, I would say. What was this in response to one of his infidelities?
Yes.
Okay.
He neglected to come home on New Year's Eve.
Didn't come home. Ladies out there on the show, have you ever wanted to take a ball-peen hammer to your exes, now their cars? Not when they were your ex, but when you were with them? Or have you ever wanted to smash his family heirlooms with sledgehammers? Sunny Day has a question. Is your mother more codependent or more counterdependent? Is she more passive or more towards narcissistic?
My mother is narcissistic, as was my dad. But my mother touted herself as a victim.
So that was her big thing, being the martyr.
Yeah. Everything happens to her. Not around her, to her.
How'd that feel around you when she would act that way around you?
Well, less than, to keep it simple.
You felt less than?
Absolutely.
So when she was playing the victim role, you sort of felt less than.
Yep. Invisible is the word I used.
Oh,
Still used.
Sunny Day, Debbie felt invisible. Annie says, I accidentally on purpose misplaced my former spouse's marathon medal. It was never recovered. She didn't say that. I'm just, he had an emotional affair, so he deserved it. Diane says, my mother is narky too, and she also feels invisible. Marlene says she broke the TV with a hammer to get her husband to stop gambling and stop doing drugs. The TV got his attention. Okay. Okay. So tell me about your mother's narcissism besides her being the martyr. How else does that show itself?
Well, she went through the cupboard just a couple of days ago and she found a can of jalapeno refried beans. And I make enchiladas and I make Mexican food and such. And I know she doesn't like spicy food, but I make dishes for other people occasionally also. And I had a can in there of spicy jalapeno refried beans. And she said, "Get this out of here. I don't like this. It's not mine. Why is it in my cupboard?" And, you know, it's my house and it's my rules and it's my whatever. And you want another recent story?
Real quick, yeah.
I don't want anybody in the house. My mother's 96, stage 3 kidney failure. I have asthma and a heart issue, blood clots. And I've only been out of the house twice since the lockdown in March. So I consider myself being careful. And Mom will not allow me, as of yesterday, she told me I couldn't till yesterday. But my sister-in-law, who I've told 4 times that I don't want her in the house, and she wasn't wearing a mask. She came into the house a couple days ago and wanted to wash her hands, is what she said. And I gave a little judo chop like that. And, you know, not at her, just, you know, in front of my belt.
What's this to do with your mother? Does this have anything to do with your mother?
It's all about her. It's all about her. I don't have what I consider a right to protect my physical well-being in the house where I live, which is my mother's house.
Okay.
I should have started with that. Yeah,
Oh,
my
okay.
mother's house.
Okay. Sunny Day says that she never felt anger towards her ex-cheater spouse, just felt betrayed and sad because the dream was shattered. Diane says, I told my husband that if he died first, I was going to take his Harley apart and sell the parts. He has high cholesterol and wouldn't take care of himself. Okay, so what's the nature of the conflict between you and your mother?
She thinks she has everything together and that she knows and remembers everything she needs to remember, but I'm the one that has to patch all the boo-boos that she creates.
Why do you have to do that?
Because I don't want the utilities turned off and things like that. I'll go ahead and tell you the number I was not going to tell you. She's taken $3,000 a month out of the bank for the last 5 years, and she only makes $3,800 a month. Cash that I'd have no idea where it's going.
What's she doing with this cash?
She won't tell anybody. I think I know where it's going, but I can't prove it.
To gambling?
Nope.
Drugs?
Nope. You want my guess?
Yeah.
I think she's given it to a former employee of my brother.
Okay.
For stocks we have never seen. She also gave him land that we've never seen the stocks for. I gave him $5,400. This is what I didn't want to get into. I gave him money also. I consider it financial elder abuse.
Okay, you're getting a little off track here from where you wanted to go. Hold on here. Let me get a couple of comments. Betty says she threw a heavy marble checkerboard he loved and it smashed across the floor and nearly killed him. Okay. Annie has a question for you. Do you feel the bulk of responsibility for your mother with not much help from your brother?
I have no help from either brother.
Okay. How long have you
the
been?
The brother who died was a nemesis. If I can say something without feeling like a total reprobate, I would say that I'm glad he's gone.
You weren't a
I'm
big.
glad my brother's out of my life.
You weren't a big fan of Paul.
Right.
Was it Peter or Paul that was the singer with Puff the Magic Dragon? I don't know.
My dad was a singer.
You said that. Mario Lanza?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
Lord.
Pavarotti. He sang with Pavarotti a lot.
Cool. Okay. How long have you lived in your mother's home?
Almost 15 years.
How did that come to be that you ended up in her home?
I was married to husband number 2. I think he burnt the house down, but nonetheless, the house burnt. He left without telling me. His dad is the one that told me he wasn't coming back. And
husband number 2 burned the house down?
Well, it burnt down, and I think he burnt it down.
And he just upped and left?
Well, we moved into a rental, and he left from that. He left from there 2 weeks before the lease was up.
What was husband number 2's first name?
David.
David. Was he the guy shot and killed across the street, or is that some other guy?
That was another guy.
Okay. So David just ran away after he burnt down the house. Did he get the insurance money before he left?
Oh my goodness. You don't even want to know the numbers of insurance money he got.
He sounds a little shady to me. Kept up on some more questions or comments. Gilligan, my middle sister was a nightmare. She passed early, and it pains me to say that it was a bit of a relief. Diane, oh Lord, my brother was no help to my mother. She had signs of dementia, and I went no contact. Okay.
Yeah, my mom's been on Aricept for 10 years.
On what?
Aricept, which is dementia medicine.
Oh.
Alzheimer's medicine.
Okay.
And antidepressants.
Okay. So second husband burned down your house. You didn't have no place to go, so you went and lived with your mom.
Yeah, there was a rental house in between that. Yeah.
Okay. What's it like living at your mom's house?
Well, if at the age of 60-some and 70-some, you like being treated like you thought you were mistreated when you were 13, it'd be just fine.
What do you want help with this genogram?
I want to know how I can successfully not have my figurative excuse me. There has to be a rule reversal.
A what?
A rule reversal with my mom.
A role reversal?
Yeah. The roof leaks and, all kinds of problems with the house and stuff, and she's still giving money away, and she won't tell anybody where it's going. I think that needs to stop.
How is money since she's given away most of hers?
Well, the house is paid for. She pays the utilities, and I buy the food. And the soaps, and, I buy the stuff.
The stuff at Target that you need. Okay.
So she's depleted the savings. And she won't tell people.
How's there going to be a role reversal?
Well, that's where the word I already told you part of what I didn't want to tell you. I think a conservatorship is required. And I'm afraid she's going to freak out like she freaked out on my dad. that'll be the biggest betrayal of her life.
She'll see that as a betrayal?
Yeah.
Sunny Day, I did do a disclaimer. Thank you for asking. She swore with her hand up like this that she wouldn't sue because this isn't therapy. So we're good. Okay. How's your mother's health besides the dementia? How long is she going to be around, do you think?
There's really nothing other than age-appropriate kidney failure and neuropathy. It's not like there's a diagnosis where they're giving her 2 years or 5. She's strong. She falls.
Yeah. So, what are your financial resources? Could you live separately without your mother?
No. If I had a place that was paid for and didn't have to get a new washer or dryer ever, I could live on my income, but no.
Let's back up to Marv and Gay here. What kind of work? This was your first husband?
First husband was Marv, yeah.
What kind of work did Marv do?
He was a speculator with no money. He was a con man.
I was going to say that sounds like a bullshit artist.
Yeah, I think that qualifies. So was number 2.
So was your dad, in a way.
In a way, yeah.
You got comment issues, dude.
I know.
You ever been called dude as a 73-year-old woman?
No, that's what I used to call my dad dude, and he'd call me dudette.
Okay, if you want to be called dudette, I can do that if you want. Okay, so husband number 2, what other con manish things did he do?
Well, he was an alternative medicine storekeeper, doctor person.
Okay.
And he was adopted, so we got huge issues with that. And there was a brother born 18 months, a true son of the parents who came along 18 months after they adopted this kid.
Okay, just because somebody does alternative medicine doesn't necessarily mean they're a con, but he was a little shady with what he was doing.
He couldn't keep the history straight that he already recreated.
Okay, he was a liar. He would lie.
He was a consummate liar, and he didn't care when you caught him at it either.
Okay, husband number 2, Fibber McGee, liar. Yes, Annie, Debbie said earlier, both her parents were narcissists. Sharon wants to know exactly what you think your mom will do when she feels betrayed. Is she gonna get the sledgehammer out or the ball-peen hammer, or what do you think she might do? This 96, I don't even know if she can handle the sledgehammer anymore at 96.
Yeah, she could.
Oh, Annie's question wasn't parents, it was spouses. She wants to know if husband number 1 and 2 were narcissistic. My bad.
I think they had to have been in order to be con men.
Yeah.
By definition, they were narcissists. Thinking themselves above the law, and nobody's going to ever catch them, and it's not going to catch up with them.
Okay. So more about Marvin, the speculator with no money.
What do you want to know?
More.
Well, he had grown kids. He touted being an attorney, but when I asked his family at the funeral, was he an attorney in such and such a state? And the answer was, I don't know. We were not with him at the time. And this is the family I supposedly broke up, by the way. And I every question I asked, you know, for the veracity of what his life was, nobody in the family that he had left could answer the question. You know, was he an attorney? Did he teach at the University of Hawaii? Was he an attorney in Texas? What did he do in Europe? You know, all kinds of questions, and nobody knew the answers.
Okay, let me show Debbie the family tree as it's shaping up.
Yeah.
Let me show the people the family tree as it's shaping up. Hey, Soren's not here tonight. What's up with that? So let me call Soren, tell him he's got to get on the show.
I know what I want to tell you about husband number one.
Tell me.
He had congestive heart failure, but when the phone rang and it was somebody that he needed to talk to, he remembered phone numbers and names and everything as if he was a computer. But if he wasn't on one of those phone calls, he was the most dead, dull, wouldn't even lift his eyes to look at the clock himself, wouldn't go across the room to get a glass of water himself. He was incompetent, incoherent, incapable. He'd get lost if he drove the car. I blame that all on the congestive heart failure. So I had to be a chameleon. You know, I had to rescue him if he was being his immature, irrational self, but I had to keep my mouth shut when he was being his brilliant self.
How many years were you married to Marv?
3.5.
I think I'd have rather been married to Marvin Gaye. Wasn't he the Heard It on the Grapevine guy?
We sang all those wonderful love songs.
Yeah. Okay, you mentioned a fellow who was killed across your street.
Yes.
What's that guy's first name?
We'll call him Gary.
Must be a lot of psychology in the picking. Okay, Gary. Gary got killed. How did he get shot? Who shot Gary?
Gary got shot sitting in a limousine that he was driving in the parking lot, and he got shot underneath the arm as he was getting out of the vehicle. So it went through his heart, his stomach, his intestine, and lodged in his left side, his right side, at the hip.
Who shot him?
Nobody knows.
Why was it across from your house?
He was waiting for me to come home.
What was Gary like? Don't tell me. He told lies.
No, I don't think he did.
He was a con man.
I don't think he was.
He died under pretty shifty circumstances.
Well,
he was shot and killed and murdered.
Yeah, there were 5 people killed on that corner that year.
What?
Yes.
And you lived across the street?
2 of them were brothers, even.
Okay. So what's Gary like? What was Gary like?
He was a romantic. He was intellectual. He was philosophical. He was. He gave me one of the greatest gifts I think I ever had, besides love, which this was the love of my life.
Gary was the love of your life.
Absolutely.
Well, how come this knucklehead with the speculation you put him on the front page?
Well, they were different time frames.
I hear you. Gary was the love of your life.
Yeah.
What kind of work did he do?
Well, for income, he was a limo driver.
Oh, that's why he was in the limo.
Yeah. And he was 6'4" and nice build and presented himself well. He was the son of missionaries that raised him in India. He was a teacher by trade, by education, and very, very philosophical.
How many years were you with him?
I went for probably 5 years, but there was no romance or anything except for the last probably 2 years. We were good buddies.
Okay. Betty has informed us that she has taken a shower and that she's back. Okay. So Robert says it sounds like Gary getting shot was a little gangster-ish.
Yeah, the police speculated that was an initiation, a gang initiation shot.
Kimberly says she's getting a bit dizzy trying to make sense of this. Kimberly, everything on here makes all the sense in the world. I'm going to lay it down here in just a little bit. We haven't talked about your brother, Peter. What's up with him?
He's a mechanical kind of person. He says what he means and means what he says, and you can do with it whatever you feel like doing because that's the way it is.
He's opinionated.
Yeah, he's a survivalist, but he doesn't try to convince everybody to do it. He's autonomous. That's what I would say.
He sounds a little bit like a nut, the survivalist part, but am I being too harsh?
Well, he likes guns and he has a lot of stuff saved and
he's a nut.
Eccentric. I would put him eccentric, not a nut.
A nut is just a ruder way of saying eccentric, but I'll go with that.
He's endearing.
Robert says he's watched too many mob movies to know that if somebody gets shot in the heart, that that it has to be mob. Annie laughed and asked. She thought it was funny if I said, "Am I being too harsh?" I was just kidding when I said that. You said he's what? Likable? What'd you say?
Yeah.
Likable. He's a likable nut.
Yeah.
I've been called.
And he's well read.
Well read.
He knows a lot of things about a lot of things, but he's not overbearing with teaching you things.
Okay. Was he married? Did he ever get married?
Yes, both brothers were married.
Oh, Polly's gonna start tearing. I just want you, dude. You're gonna have to chill.
Yeah. The first brother was in the Air Force.
How did he do in the Air Force?
He did very well.
Was he a colonel or a general or what was it?
He was a crew chief on the flight line.
Okay, Debbie, tell an interesting story. I need to go take care of Polly for a second. You got an interesting story? You seem to have a lot of them early on.
Well, what subject do you want to cover?
The most interesting story that you can do in about 3 minutes.
Doesn't matter who?
Doesn't matter who.
Okay.
You got it?
Okay. Yeah.
Go. Talk loud.
Okay. The boyfriend.
Yeah.
The one that got murdered was, like I said, he was raised in India. So he had a different perspective and value system and a great character and taught about character. He wanted to raise money to go back to India to create wells in communities where people would have fresh water. And in the well house, he would build it as a community center where the people would have computers and it would be a learning center for everybody in the community besides the well house, and supply trees and vegetables and things to the people in the community to use the water on besides the personal aspects of water use. And the plan was to have trucks go around picking up a percentage of the fruits and vegetables and create curries from different parts of the country of India, such that the curry would be flash frozen and sold in America and around the world. That was the master plan. He had some funders, but he was still looking for more funders. So in a fashion, he was definitely an idealist, but he had some, he had the meat behind him, and he had the character to pull it off. He had the trust.
Gary had some kind of deal going on where he was really going to make actual money.
Well, he wanted to supply. You missed out on my introduction there. He wanted to have wells dug in different rural communities of India, and the well house would become a community education center, and they would supply trees also to the communities where they took the water. The people would grow the fruits and vegetables. He would collect the fruits and vegetables, a portion of it, and make curries and flash freeze the curries and sell them in frozen prepackaged
So
units.
you didn't ever get any red flags off of Gary.
I knew he was an idealist, but I thought he could pull this off. Yeah.
And then he got shot.
Yeah.
I always put a crimp in your plans when you got shot like that.
Yeah.
And he says, God bless Mr. Pauly. It turns out Mr. Pauly just needed some water. He wasn't just saying hi. He was thirsty. So we've cured his issue. So Peter is a character who doesn't lie.
Right.
Are you close to him? Do you hang out with him?
Not until the last couple of years.
Where does he live?
He lives in Las Vegas. He went as part of the bodyguard entourage. He went as the other two bodyguards were professional bodyguards / hitmen, is what they were.
Who'd the hitmen work for?
The first husband.
Well, I thought this guy didn't have any money. How did he have money for hitmen?
He didn't pay them.
Well, you could get yourself shot that way.
They were around more than 6 months for no pay, on a lick and a promise. This guy he was good at what he did.
He was a really good con man.
You're not kidding. So my mother also threatened my dad with breaking his knees, saying that the bodyguards would do anything she told them to do.
Oh, I wonder what was going on there. The bodyguards were being paid in some fashion, it seems.
No, in fact, one of them wanted my mom to be his kid's grandma. He wanted to take her back to New Jersey and have her be their babysitter.
Okay, now, Debbie, what hurts in your life?
I feel like almost nobody hears me. Or I think I don't say a whole lot that doesn't matter. And when it comes to the people that should matter in my life, I feel like I am dismissed, such as not wanting my sister in the house to pee or to do anything.
I thought she was going to wash her hands. Now she's going to pee.
Well, that was code word, because after all, she's a lady, my mother said. She wouldn't say pee.
I would.
She's a lady. I'm not being sarcastic, of course.
I got it.
But that's how my mother said it.
How does it feel not to be heard?
On the one hand, I can, let's see. Oh, okay. Fuck it.
Did you just say fuck it?
Yeah.
Well, why'd you say that? I like the word and all, but where were you going?
That's how I feel.
Okay, can you elaborate on fuck it? There's not a lot of meat there, a lot of enthusiasm and not a lot of material there with that.
If they're not going to listen, why should I participate? Why should I bother? My brother yelled at me to the extent that this is brother number 2, the dead one.
I know who it is.
He would yell till the vessels on his forehead would bulge, get sweaty. The leaders in his neck would show. He would yell and scream until he couldn't talk anymore. And it was all a deprecation of me, because it was directed to me. And my all the judgmental, you should have, you always, you never, you didn't, you know, he wouldn't let me say anything during that 3-hour time, or he'd ask me a question. I'd try to answer it with 1 or 2 answers, 1 or 2 words, and he'd talk over the top of me. I would tell him, you don't have my permission to yell at me. You can't yell at me. Stop yelling at me. If you continue yelling, I'll walk out. I walked out one time. He followed me into my room, and I had no way to get out, and I was petrified. He captured me in my room. I didn't know what he would do.
So, I know you guys love your puppy dogs and your kitty cats, and I'm feeling the love going back and forth, but does anybody have any final questions for Debbie about her stuff? While they're thinking, what do you do with your pain, Debbie? How do you cover it up, or how do you function?
I sing.
Where do you sing?
I sing in the car. I sing to myself, by myself. I imagine myself singing. Even that's why I hesitated to use the word bucket, because I don't say that almost ever. First time I said shit, I stepped in it when I was 29. And
so you were a goody goody.
I didn't smoke drugs, nothing. I did nothing. I was a virgin until I was 28.
Did you hear my poem at the beginning? It said, you don't have to be good. You don't have to be good. No one told you that when you were little, huh?
No, they told me quite the opposite, in fact.
They lied to you, didn't they?
In fact, my mother said to me on one occasion, enraged, whatever happened to that nice Christian girl I raised?
Did you tell her to go fuck herself?
No, I didn't. I didn't say fuck it.
It would have been a nice thing to say. Let's back up on the comments. Annie has a good question. Did you ever go to therapy? You're 73. You must have logged some therapy time. Tell us about your therapy experience.
I went to therapy at the Crystal Cathedral for 20 sessions.
The Crystal Cathedral? What's that? Is that Robert Schuller?
Robert Schuller's church. That's where boyfriend and I were at the hotline working together, the suicide hotline.
You worked on the suicide hotline for Robert Schuller's Crystal Cathedral. You're making this shit up.
No, I'm not. I also sang solo concerts.
Did you?
Yeah. Open air solo concerts on Sunday afternoons.
How'd the therapy go?
He convinced me that I'd be okay, which is the only thing my mother said. My mother was busy taking care of other people when the fiance was murdered, and she didn't even come over to see me or anything at all. Not at all.
Sunny Day says, Debbie, did you become a social worker so your clients would hear what you have to say and so you wouldn't be invisible?
No.
Okay.
I became a social worker because I realized my teaching was really social work.
Okay.
Because I taught about perspectives and values and the humor of how we see things versus how they might really be. And I ameliorated many family complications and eased people into being okay with being in the facility. I eased family members being okay with leaving the family member at the facility. I was doing social work for free. So I figured I'd get the education. Then I couldn't get a job, and I couldn't get my old job back.
Okay. Do you still, where is the pain of being unheard these days?
Well, just this week, my mother has required me to apologize to my sister-in-law for forbidding her to come into the house when she had been told more than 4 times that she won't be able to come into the house. I think it's her problem, not mine.
She's required you to apologize.
Yes. She has blackmailed me into apologizing.
How is she blackmailing you?
You will be sorry. In fact, I've already arranged for you to be sorry.
Think she's going to get her sledgehammer out?
Well, she could kick me out. She could, there's not much in the estate, but it's all I'll ever get. I don't know. My mother's never given me an ounce of security of what's going to happen when she's gone. And she could take away whatever she thinks she's given me, but she's given it all away in the meantime anyway.
Okay.
I resent that I couldn't keep the peace in a lot of places in my life.
Okay.
And resentment is one of your naughty words too. I understand that.
It's a real naughty word.
Yeah.
Jilligan, I'm not going to ask your question because I think I know the answer to that about which was the most problematic. Okay. I have 13 observations. Debbie, are you ready?
Yeah.
She's making a scrunchy face, like, be gentle, but I know you're not going to be, but,
Well, I've had other therapies also. Around the death was not the only time.
Okay, good enough on the therapies. Okay, you ready? I'm going to get after it. Betty says that your story breaks her heart. I think that you're in more pain than you're showing. I see a lot of pain in your eyes. Sometimes it's hard for us to divvy out the pain while I'm being a goofball, but it is what it is. But I see your pain, and I think the people that are watching have also seen your pain. Okay, observation number one. These are in no particular order. It feels like you sort of have your dad on a pedestal. By the way, folks, Debbie's doing a little crying, as we're talking about her pain. The little kid in you didn't really care if your dad was damaged goods. There's one issue that is consistent in your family tree. It's remarkable. It's shocking. Let's count the characters on your family tree and see which ones of them fit this one particular word.
Okay, can I interject something
yes,
here?
You may.
Vital.
Absolutely.
My dad's parents immigrated from Germany in '06 as little children. They didn't know each other. And my grandma had told me when I was 13 that we came from the black part of Germany. And I thought, that means the Black Forest.
That's what I thought.
Well, black people don't think that when they hear that. So my dad was dark. And I found out when I was probably 40 that my dad was born and when in a German community of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, totally white neighborhood, German suburb. And he was called Nigger Baby. And he was also called that when he went to elementary school. And he was a skinny kid, and he had an uncle who was a bodybuilder, and that's why he was a bodybuilder. And the bodybuilder uncle raped him. And my grandpa raped my mom and all of her sisters.
On your dad's side?
No,
on your mother's side.
My mother's side.
The uncle raped your father.
Yeah.
And yet your father went on to become a bodybuilder.
was a bodybuilder uncle trainer who raped him.
Jilligan says that's terrible. Okay, so let's get into this. And
my dad raped me.
You saved the punchline for the end, don't you?
Well, that was in the first email I asked you if you wanted me to read. I thought you read it. I'm sorry.
That would have given us too much information, for the process here. Your dad raped you how many times for how long?
Just once. He said he wasn't raised with girls, so he didn't know how to raise a girl. And I told him, well, this wasn't it.
Okay. All right. So your father was damaged goods.
Yeah, as was his best friend who put the mark on me several times. Yes.
I want you to listen. Don't talk. Okay. Kimberly says she had sensed more going on here that met the eye. I, the great therapist, didn't notice the thing. Kimberly, you had me there. She sucker punched me with the last part there. Interesting enough, my dad comes from the Pittsburgh area as well. But I'll speak to everybody out there. Yeah, it's true that our parents were wounded, but there's a process that you have to go through first in dealing with your family of origin issues. And you do need to know the truth. You do need to have a voice. You do need to feel your feelings toward them. So let me get back to counting the people. There are 1, 2. So when they said the black part of Germany, they weren't lying. They meant biologically, genetically, that your dad was dark. Okay.
I'm irrevocably convinced of that.
Okay.
And he was the only dark one among his siblings.
Okay. So I hope my phone doesn't run out of juice here.
And that might be part of why I didn't want kids.
Wow. No, Kimberly, you didn't sucker punch me. This the information at the end sort of surprised me. Okay. So your mom, your dad, you and Marv, there's 4 people. Gary's 5. Paul is 6. I assume Paul told lies.
Yes. He was grandiose, actually.
He lied to himself.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. There's 7, 8. There's 9 people on your family tree. And what's the one word that fit 6 of them?
They're all narcs.
We didn't confirm that so far today. Let me show everybody the family tree. What pops? Sunny Day retracted her message. Betty says that she's just aching. Doesn't surprise her. And Sunny Day says, and the reason she didn't want children was related to, this sort of racial secret, if you will. But yeah, there's 9 people on the family tree, and 6 of them were consummate liars. I keep saying this, but it keeps being true. I've done thousands of these. I've never had, Annie says, what pops the lying? Annie gets a gold star. So Kimberly, you said about mental illness. I don't really see a lot of mental illness in the terms of like bipolar disorder or schizophrenia. I see a bunch of liars, is what I see. I see a bunch of con men and narcissists. So I've never only taken 9 people, and 7 of them are con men and liars.
I can tell you some more behind all that.
I bet you could. I bet you could.
It would confirm your supposition here.
Yeah. So here's the thing, Debbie. We can't choose our families. This is the family that you were blessed with, so to speak.
Yeah.
And there's not going to be a big role reversal when it comes to money in your mother. Unless she's ruled to be, unfunctional due to the dementia, you take legal matters and then you get, access to funds that way. That would be a role reversal. But your mother isn't going to do any changing on her own. That's never going to happen.
Yeah.
You feel like you're frozen in time. Your whole life, you've been surrounded by con men and liars and people that don't hear you, but you've never had the strength or the ability to escape it. And you're just stuck in it. And like I said, I think there's way more pain inside you than what you've shown here today. I think there's a part of you that feels very stuck and sort of desperate. The only person that we have any shot at fixing is ourselves.
Yep.
And you said something, you said, I don't feel heard by anyone who should hear me. Debbie, there's nobody that should hear you. There's no rule book in the heavens that says dads and moms should hear their children. There's no rule book, certainly, that husbands should hear their wives. You get what you get. You were between many rocks and many hard places as a child. Your dad was a piece of work. He seems grandiose to me. He seems like a sex addict kind of a guy. He was a sex addict. He raped you. I mean, he had 11 affairs. So that was sort of the lying and the gamesmanship. Whatever he did to get attention. He was a Marine. He was a bodybuilder till he was 65. He was captain of the fire department. He was hot shit.
Santa Claus.
What?
Yeah. Santa Claus and rode in the parades. Yeah.
Did he play Santa Claus?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything to get attention.
He didn't give us kids very much, but at the hospitals and stuff, he played Santa Claus.
So one thing you're stuck in is a lot of victim mentality. Okay. There's nobody that should hear you. In your adult life, the reason you haven't been heard is 2 things. One thing is the people that you picked were carbon copies of the people that you grew up being hurt by. Okay. And the second reason you haven't been heard is you have no power. You have no leverage. Money walks and bullshit walks, they say. You ain't got no money.
Yep, money talks.
Yeah, it does. So the response, fuck it, I thought was really interesting because it seems like I don't know if you guys remember the plus plus, the plus minus, the minus plus, the minus minus. But fuck it is minus minus. It's nobody cares about me. Nobody loves me. I don't have any hope. The world's not a safe place. Everybody but Gary sucked. So fuck it. When you're talking to your other brother Paul, when you say you don't have permission to yell at me, that isn't very powerful or effective. You needed to continue to walk out of the house.
I was afraid he would convince Mom and they would change the locks on the doors.
Yeah.
I was afraid if I took a vacation, that they'd throw my stuff away.
Let me give you some hard truths. Okay. Your life has been dominated by con men instead of providers. And along the way, you weren't able to provide for yourself. And now you're sort of fucked. You're stuck in this enmeshed relationship with a demented bully. Demented as in has dementia. So all through your life, it's been about disempowerment, and whatever therapy you didn't empower you to do what you needed to do.
No, they told me I was fine. That was it. That was as empowering as it got.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting that your natural skills were to ease people into the facility when you were bringing people in. So the thing you learned in your family was how to be smooth and to sell people on a deal, and you used it for good. You used it in social work to help elderly people, but it's a similar skill set. It's just interesting to me how in a way some of your families and your history salesmanship got played out in your role in helping the elderly people. So the statement that my mother has required me to do anything, it's like you're frozen at 13. You said it yourself. You said, she treats me like I'm 13. And so my feedback to you is, like I said, you're sort of screwed because you're 73 and there's not a lot of time to make a pile of money. But you're dependent. You have no leverage. You're in a dependent relationship with your mother, and she's sort of a bully. You could wait her out and inherit some money, but she's so tenacious, she'll probably outlive you. So
I've been told that. I have thought of that.
So you have a sad story because you weren't taught to make your own money. You weren't taught to make your own way in the world. You've been teaming up with con men and narcissists that have left you pretty much penniless. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. You have a lot of resentment. You have a lot of victim mentality. You sort of did a lot of triangulation, venting, mainly about your mom. The question earlier, which one harmed her the most? I would say her dad and mom harmed you equally. It's just your dad had a little bit of shine on him and your mom was ruthless. But I think as an early child, your dad's sexual addiction and his selfishness with money did a lot of harm. See, you get it? Your dad exploited you financially, so you spent the rest of your life finding people who would do what? Exploit you financially.
Oh.
That's what you needed to recreate.
Okay.
So in your recovery program, you need to work on eliminating victim mentality. I have a whole playlist of almost 300 videos on eliminating victim mentality. Watch them until your eyes bleed. Here's the deal. You're a big girl. You're 73. You need to find some way yourself to make a living on the earth without your mother. You're selling your soul by living with your mother. And I think your soul is really tired of being sold out.
I have a plan, but I don't know how to get out of here in order to do the plan.
Having a plan is good. Jilligan just says it's easier said than done. Jilligan says you have to get away from your mother. Does anybody else have any follow-up feedback for Debbie? These feedback sessions are rigorous. They're a little bit like a punch in the face. There's a place in the Bible that says the wounds from a friend are faithful, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful. So you'll get some wounds if you sign up for this. What I'm looking for when I'm gathering the information in the family tree is truth, and the truth just jumps off the page. Your life has been about con men, and you weren't able to individuate yourself enough to go live your life. And what's in the trail of con men? Women with no money. And that's why you're left to your mother with dementia, who has money, but who also treats you like a 13-year-old.
Yeah, I was a trophy wife to husband number one.
You were a trophy wife to number one. Emily Wheeler, I don't really appreciate your commercials on my station, okay? I love Jerry, but not cool. Don't like it. Jilligan says, I need to get away from my mother, but she's older and I feel obligated to stay. I had a note here that I didn't understand. It's right on the tip of my brain. I thought it was, I'm working with a woman who is stuck sort of taking care. Do you feel any of that taking care of with your mother, or is it more that you need to live there because you don't got enough place to live?
Oh, I think it's a symbiotic relationship at this point. If she was nice, she needs me and I need her at this point, is what my perspective is. But my preference would still be to be gone.
But here's this lady that I'm working with. She's been enmeshed with her parents her whole life, and she's sort of sneaking close to 50, and she sees the time, tempus fugit, and at 73, tempus is really going to fugit, you. So you need to become a beast. You need to quit relying on your mother. You need to individuate from your mother. And if you have a shitty little apartment somewhere and a menial job, but you can take care of yourself with integrity and nobody's bossing you around, and you can make friends and walk in the park and sing, it might just be the best years of your life. It's time for you to quit looking for help from your mother and to learn how to individuate and take care of yourself. It's time to go from 13, to an adult.
Well, I think I'm more valuable than valued. I think she needs me a lot, and she doesn't have a clue. She thinks I do nothing. In fact, one of the things my brother used to say is, writers write, painters paint, you do nothing, so you are nothing.
Who said that?
My brother.
Okay.
He turned both of my parents' negative aspects into an art form.
Yeah. Andrea says, Debbie, do you love yourself?
Well, apparently not sufficiently. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here.
Do you feel lovable?
Yes, I do.
Sonny wants to know if you've been romantically involved with anybody since Gary.
One sort of thinking about it, but nothing recent. No. No, and that was probably the most destructive relationship of all, where I was thinking about romance.
Yeah. So we're going to wrap up here, but I guess my message, Debbie, not only to you, but to everybody who invests time in watching this video, is we don't have much time on this earth. I was 17 20 minutes ago, and now I'm 61, and we have to seize the day. We have to figure out who we are, what gifts we have, what our calling is in the world, and we need to get out there and start whooping some ass. And achieving our potential. And it's sad when the legacy of our families dominate our lives into our 70s. But who knows? Debbie, you could live 25 more years.
Really
learn how to be independent. Learn how to. Don't think I'm 73 and I can't make money. Think I'm 73 and I know a lot, and I'm going to go make a big pile of money. Okay, and I'm going to not depend on my mother. That it really is selling your soul. Okay, if you think you can do it, you can do it. Don't get any business partners. They'll all be con men. Work by yourself, do what you do best, and have dreams. I was looking at a little thing last night that was talking about 2020 and how hard it's been, and a guy gave a little speech about take your shot, in basketball. Take a shot. You're not taking any shots. You know how many shots you're going to make if you don't take any shots? You're going to make zero. You're going to make zero. Zero. The only chance you have of making a shot is taking a shot. So I hope this feedback speaks to you. I hope you take it to your heart. The universe is trying to kick you in the ass.
Yeah, I kept waiting for my turn to happen, and it didn't happen.
You got to make that shit happen.
Yeah.
The universe is never going to make it happen for you. You make it happen. I used to get up in the morning due to PTSD, and I'd be afraid. And now that I've done work to be able to move out of being an infant or a 7-year-old or a 13-year-old, now I'm a grown man. I wake up in the morning. I'm not afraid of things. Everything's afraid of me. I grab hold of life by the throat and make it what I want it to be. Not in a mean way, not in a reactive way, not in a disrespectful way, but life is hard and people are devious, and you need to be strong to survive and thrive. And that's what you need. You need self-love. You need strength. You need to get out of victim mentality. That's the main thing I'm telling you.
I will look for. I have listened to some of your
the
videos.
playlist on uprooting victim mentality has a big anchor in it. Okay, there's a few parting comments. Andrea says, sort of taking care of your mother is not your obligation.
I have thought that it was. Yes.
Jilligan, you said she should write a book, but you know what? If you take the victim mentality out of it, you probably have a pretty good novel. But if with the victim mentality, I don't think it would sell, frankly. Andrea says, life is not a dress rehearsal. We need to live today. Rinspire. My wife and partner says loving. Annie says, I hope for the best for you, Debbie. Take good care. And Annie says, good night, peeps. Andrea says, believe in yourself. You're worth it. Betty says, good night. Wonderful. Jilligan says, life is hard. Yes, people are devious and bad. So I hope you got what you came looking for, Debbie.
Well, I will re-listen to it too.
Did you were able to record the audio?
Well, you're going to put it online somewhere.
Oh, duh. Blah. I'm really bright. Are you recording this or what? Okay. So thank you for being a good sport. Thank you for having a good sense of humor. You cracked me up a couple times. Keep your humor. You know, having joy is a strength.
Absolutely.
And I just encourage you to bring some joy and some fearlessness and some fierceness into your life and make a place for yourself in the world that you truly belong, because you don't belong at your mother's house. She's clapping. All right. Thanks, Debbie. God bless.
Thank you.
Renspire says it's not too late to become your own loving parent, Debbie. She'll read that. I love doing these family trees. This is a fascinating story here. You know what? Every one I do is a fascinating story, but this one was sort of sexy. I mean, it had a lot of characters, or a lot of lying con artist characters. You could make a movie about this. So I need to calm myself down and sort of chillax for a little bit, take Polly for another walk. Thank you for participating in the show. People that aren't watching this, I think they're missing something really good. I know it's tedious gathering the information, but the thing is if you can take one or two patterns in the generations from one generation to the next, it could change everything in your life. If somebody that we work with, if their stuff is like your stuff, it could really pop in your head and really change your life. So thank you for watching. We do have 3 people that have emailed, 2 people that have emailed me actually, and Annie's going to. But if anybody else wants to get on the list, then you two can be spoken to harshly and have some insights and some tears come up as you do your work to help people learn the tremendous value and power of a genogram and the tremendous power of a community of really insightful people and of a therapist who's been about around the block just a little bit. Jilligan says, thank you, Mark. I know it's been a lot of work for you, especially after a long, full day. Has been a bit of a long day. Marlene says, this was so interesting, but so sad. I wish you could have seen Debbie's eyes. She's smiling on the outside and she's crying on the inside. Her eyes look tortured. But what I should have said, she'll be able to watch this. What I should have said was, you're probably a mascot. You probably use humor to cover over, the deep and sincere pain that you have. This has been fun. This has been cool. Sorry, we yet again had technical issues and it kept us getting on late. Jilligan says it took her a bit to get that huge punchline. Yeah, it did. we'll see you guys in a couple weeks, and we'll do a little Eye of the Tiger. Might have a little poetry. I'll try to get closer on time to 8:15, and we'll murder somebody else's family tree so that they can learn something, so that I can have fun, and so y'all can learn something too, and y'all can have fun. See y'all.